David Talbot describes the congregation of Saturn, Venus, and Mars above Earth's northern pole as being extremely close to Earth. So close were the planets that Saturn appeared to fill the sky, appearing much larger than our current moon at its fullest. The size of the configuration in this animation is a reasonable approximation of what the planets look like in terms of scale. The scriptures themselves provide ample evidence as to the very close proximity of these celestial bodies. The Book of Moses records that the ancient prophet Enoch regularly received communications from the Lord as he spoke to the prophet from heaven. The record is clear that the voice was audible and came from above. The voice speaking to Enoch cannot be construed to be coming merely from an undefined direction above. It came from a clearly specified location above the earth, a location from which angels descended and to which humans ascended. It had a name, Zion. What Enoch saw and heard were in vision, like Jacob's dream of the ladder with ascending and descending angels. However, what Enoch saw was not symbolic, but a literal observation of future events. In fact, the vision occurred after he and his city Zion had been taken up into heaven. It was from this vantage point above the earth that Enoch beheld the angels descending, the righteous ascending, and heard the voice of the Lord to the inhabitants of the earth. The knowledge of the ascent of Enoch and his city into heaven, meaning a specific location directly above the earth, was not forgotten. The tale of the Tower of Babel makes sense only within the context that heaven was not only near the earth, but attainable by building and then climbing a tower. Many consider the story to be purely mythological. There is good reason for this belief. The biblical story is mythological, but there was also a real tower, as we learn from the account of Ether in the Book of Mormon. The biblical account is vague as to the purpose of the tower, except that its goal was to reach unto heaven. We know from Joseph Smith and his associates that the building was entirely logical, if not misguided. Apostle Orson Pratt, who likely got his information from Joseph, explained the building of the tower in a discourse in 1873. According to Apostle Orson F. Whitney, Joseph Smith was even more clear on the topic. Joseph stated that not only did the people of Babel remember the translation of the city of Zion, its physical location was still visible above the earth. The identity of the heaven above the earth is actually named in the Bible. Babel, as Eduardo Cardona pointed out, does not refer to the confusion of tongues, but is a reference to the tower's intended destination. The heaven above was Saturn. We can draw some overall conclusions from the stories of Enoch and the tower. First, during the presence of the polar configuration, there were periodic verbal communications between personages from heaven above with mankind below. Second, since verbal communications occurred between the planets, this indicates that the voice-like sounds from the planets above could also be transmitted to the earth below. The shout of creation could be heard by the inhabitants of the earth. Third, there was periodic migration of human beings living on earth to the planet or planets above, and vice versa. Angels descended and humans ascended. Each of these conclusions presupposes a physical connection between the planets. There was a medium that transmitted sound and one that allowed the movements of human beings between the planets.